Hello, and welcome to our latest addition to the view inside the chrysalis. The chrysalis is where all the mess is happening, and we are looking at our journey into a new reality, a new way for human beings to be functioning on our planet. We are the leaders, we are the vanguard, even if we are stumbling around, wondering what we should be doing next. As long as we're not stumbling in that direction, we'll be okay. Um, yeah, I'm going to have to decide whether north or south is going to be my go-to direction for don't go that way or don't go that way. Um, as we've done before, we will start with a meditation. Um, we're going to do the 3 minutes again. I see that I had a request for 5 minutes, and I'm like, no, we may be extending ourselves through popular demand. Um, I have to see the demand. One person is not a demand. Um, and today I'm going to do something which is going to carry us over the half an hour. I'll explain how I'm going to do it after we do our meditation. So even if you're just committed for 30 minutes, then we're going to honor that. Um, and so I have my timer already set up, and so we're going to go ahead and start our 3 minute meditation. Again, close your eyes if you're comfortable. Um, Settle in if you're comfortable. Keep yourself erect if you are comfortable. If you have to lie down, that's okay. Um, Try to quit doing everything except you. You have to breathe, so breathe deeply. You have to let it out, so let it out deeply. One more time, in and out. You are your body, but you are larger than your body. You're larger in space. You are larger in time. You are larger in consciousness. You're connected to all other beings. Settle into your largest self. Prepare to return to your center. Get ready to open your eyes. And when you are ready, open your eyes and let's begin. Well, it's definitely 3 minutes. We may be going for four soon. That felt significantly deeper for me, and I don't know how it was for any of you. And if you want to say yay or nay, you can do so in the comments section. Speaking of comments, what we're going to be doing today, um, I've got our topic, doing the impossible, and why we're going to talk about that and how we're going to talk about that will take up about 25 minutes or so. At the bottom of the hour, and I say that because a lot of you are doing, are in other time zones and in other countries. So at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to stop as I've usually have, and then start right back up again. In that, a very substantial comment came in from our last session where I was talking about food and how food was not really feeding us. Um, and I'm trying to figure out how to handle substantial written comments. And I'll demonstrate some, and you will respond like yay, I like it, no, I don't, or something else. But I want to do that like right at the hour, and I think it's going to go about 15 minutes. And if you have to go, go. If you can stay, stay. If you have to do it later, all this is being recorded, and you can watch it later. Lots of you are attending these in arrears, and so welcome, and we'll try to get that. We'll see how this goes. Um, I'm getting a lot of comments that people are saying that 30 minutes just seems very rushed. It seems that way to me. It's kind of funny. I'm when I get energy, I kind of get buzzing around, and when I go and when I stop it right at 30 minutes, I have this. I'm buzzing, and I got nowhere to take my buzz. So we'll see how 45 minutes goes. Um, my experience of this time is that it's going very, very quickly. And therefore, I want to get us launched into what doing the impossible means. Um, this is a comment that came from Greg Burrell to the Appendix 3, our 1,000-year plan. Greg says, Sharif, since you are now doing experiments concerning the holonic mind, what can we do that works if the holonic mind turns out to be inaccessible in the way you theorize? Are there actions we can take independent of the holonic mind? Okay, so I'm going to take the last part of that um, first, and that's the easiest part. Are there actions we can take independent of the holonic mind? Yes, of course there are. That's called breaker consciousness. That's called think whatever you want to think and do it in the world, and there are no consequences to that. The only way you can get to that point is by taking actions that are independent of the holonic mind. I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to try to do that. So let's get to the real part of the question. What can we do that works if the holonic mind turns out to be inaccessible in the way that you theorize, the way that I theorize? Good question. And a good question has taken me into a number of different places. I'm going to touch on those places as I'm going through here. One of the things the short answer is I don't know how to awaken the holonic mind. Nobody does. If anybody knows that, they probably died about 12,000 years ago. So we're figuring this out on our own. When we were in the process of stopping the war in Sri Lanka, the war had been going on for 30 years and it looked like it was going to have no possibility of stopping it anytime in the near future. Um, People were laughing at us or kind of just looking kind of like, oh, these poor deluded fools think that they're going to actually stop a shooting war. Okay. Um, but we did. Now, in our the Sarvodia headquarters, we had a section set up we called the Peace Secretariat, and heading up the Peace Secretariat, and I had a group that I worked with. We kept coming up with different theories on how to stop the war. We knew the theory. We knew what theory would work when the war stopped, and so um, I kept reminding us, we're making this shit up as we go along. We don't have the answers. So we can be loose and flexible and creative in terms of how we come up with the answers. Okay. So it would take 2 or 3 hours to go through all the things that we did and all the things we rejected doing that we decided that we would not do. But one of the things that was the most important for us was for us to recognize that what we were doing was the impossible. What we were doing had never been done, couldn't be done. Everybody said was impossible. And then we did it. So, on these live streams, I've been talking about my lineage, and I have a few quotes from some of the people who were in my lineage to who talked about doing the impossible. One of them from Nelson Mandela. He said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Everybody who was telling us that I'm going to Sri Lanka and I'm wasting my time, time and money, etc. Okay, everybody who did that when the war stopped said, "We did it! We did it! We stopped the war!" And this was one of my I let them say that. Just say, yes, we did it. And hugs, congratulations, we did it. Although your contribution in the beginning is telling me how it couldn't be done. Okay. Another quote from my other person in my lineage, Václav Havel, although that's a terrible picture of him. We must not be afraid of dreaming the seemingly impossible if we want the seemingly impossible to become a reality. When I first came up with the title to my foundational book, Creating a World That Works for All, people would read that and they'd scrunch their face up like, oh, yeah, you think that's possible? Or put the book down like really carefully as though it's going to explode. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Okay, 22 years later, that is a common phrase. We managed to get the meme into our consciousness. Now the question is, how do we actually do that? But you've got very mainstream and well-known individuals and organizations saying, "Oh yes, we're creating a world that works for all." People don't remember where that started. People don't have to, unless I'm in an ego fest, in which case I'm going to sue everybody who says it without my copyright mark on it. Here's another quote from so Havel actually believed this. He wrote a book called The Art of the Impossible, one of his best books. I'm very well. I've read that one a lot. Um, Here's another person in our lineage, Vamala Thakar. Revolution, total revolution, implies experimenting with the impossible. And when an individual takes a step in the direction of the new, a step in the direction of the impossible, the whole human race travels through that individual. When I'm having a not great day, I have some once in a while. I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the globe on my back, and it feels like all the people that are the people and organizations and situations that are on my back as I'm pulling them along are partying. They're having a ball. They're trying to get more people on the wagon. But I then have to realize, and I thank Vamala Thakar for reminding me, that as I'm pulling the wagon, all of the human beings who came before me and all of the human beings who are coming after me are in that line and are holding those ropes and are pulling with me. I may not see the results of that in a short time. It may take a while to see that. This is something else that I when I thought about the response to Greg's question, I thought about this in Sri Lanka. The process of um, getting Sarvodia on board with the notion that we could actually stop the war in a specific time frame. And the it, it's a Sarvodia is a huge organization, so it's a multi-step process to get the literally the tens of thousands of people who are involved with Sarvodia lined up in the same direction. Um, as we were doing that, as we were doing the lineup, I posed something to them. I said that if we do this thing as a project, do the war as a project, in my prediction was in 2 to 5 years, the war would be over. And ha ha, hee hee, this war's been going on for 30 years. It'll take another 30 years to stop it. Or the only way that it will stop in 30 years, in 5 years, is for one side or the other to conquer the other side. Um, but the majority of the organization said, okay, let's at least try this. So everybody signed on. We started doing what's called the Peace Action Plan. And in 18 months, the war stopped. It stopped, and it was so startling that even inside the Peace Secretariat, I was saying, "Is that it? Did we did we just win?" And so we agreed. We said, none of us really know. Let's go a few weeks and see if this is just a blip or an aberration or whatever. And after a month, we realized the war just stopped, and and that's how the impossible is done. That's how you actually do the impossible. that's how you uh, that's how you stop listening to the people who are laughing at you. You stop listening to the people who are ridiculing you. You you stop trying. You stop listening to the people who are trying to kill you, and then you win. Okay, another quote here. This one is from this some dude named Mahatma Gandhi, and I shouldn't joke like that because this is our lineage. These are the people who did inclusivity. These are the people who did nonviolence. These are the people who paved the way for us to be right where we are right now. So Gandhi said, dreams at first seem impossible, then seem improbable, and finally, when we commit ourselves, become inevitable. Um, so where are we on our process of impossible to improbable to inevitable? Well, the answer to that question is, where are you? Um, have you committed to the process whereby we create a world that works for all living beings? Um, I notice when I'm reading that statement in other people's writings, they aren't even committed to it to the very next sentence. So the very next sentence is putting somebody down or opposing somebody or whatever. And it's like, okay, you don't get it yet. You will get it. One of these days, you'll actually understand what creating a world that works for all actually means. I think I have a couple more Gandhi quotes here. Um, so Gandhi said, nothing is impossible for pure love. And one of the things that we have to recognize that what we're doing, we're acting, but we're not acting because we're afraid. We're acting not because we're trying to get control over someone else or resist someone's control. We're acting not because we're trying to get more money for ourselves or a higher market share or anything like that. We're acting because this is the imperative of our times. We're acting because it's time for us to grow up into something else. We're acting because this is the right thing to do, and this is the authentic and truthful thing for us to do. We're acting because this is ours to do. There's a reason you're on this planet at this time in this condition, whatever your condition may be. It's time for you um, to rise to a whole new surface. Okay, so um, once again, using the example of our experiences in Sri Lanka with the uh, ending of the war at that point, um, a lot of lessons were learned. And unfortunately, a lot of lessons were missed. Um, I'll talk for a second about the ones that were most prevalent, and then the ones that were missed. Most prevalent is keep approaching the issue, even though you may be trying lots and lots of different tactics. We began to think that Martin Luther King was the only person, the only leader that was out there during the 60s that everybody was lined up behind him, and that we don't have there are no questions about the direction he had, the way we went, etc. None of that is true. Lots and lots of questions as to how to bring about this change in the consciousness of African Americans as second-class citizens in the minds of white America and in the minds of Black America. Lots of different ways of thinking about that. Lots of different experiments were tried. All of them focused in on how do we change American apartheid. And you remember me saying that if you can't name it, you can't change it. And we didn't even have a name for what we were experiencing. People called it Jim Crow. People called it discrimination. People called it, civil rights, etc. But there was an apartheid system in America as powerful as the apartheid system in South Africa, and that was the target. The places that we lost ground, the places where we lost the opportunity, and that the reasons why we are coming back at this again, back at changing our consciousness and transforming our world again, was that the goals that we articulated back in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, etc., were too small. We were not holding the largest possible energy. So therefore, even when we achieved what we needed to achieve, we then saw, oh, that's not enough. It's like going to the grocery store and not having the right list. So you buy some mayonnaise and, maybe I'll need some bread with that. So you buy some bread. And, oh yeah, we ran out of candles. I see candles right there. So you grab some candles and so you go out, you buy the stuff, you leave the store, get home and realize that the 30 things that you needed, went to the store for, you didn't get. And so that's why I have been taking, that's why you have been taking your time in getting to understand how big, how deep, how impossible creating a world that works for all living beings is. To understand what we're up against, and to understand that once we take hold of that, we can begin to see the world a different way. It's like Gandhi saying to the British when they asked the question, you don't expect us to just leave India, the largest colony, the richest colony in the world. Gandhi said, yeah, we want you to leave as friends, but we want you to leave. And they also had one of the largest militaries in the world. And none of that mattered. What mattered was what's in your heart, the heart of people, and how that can overcome anything that is out there in the world. Same situation with Václav Havel and the Soviet Union, the second largest superpower in the world, and they were defeated without firing a single shot. All of the weapons are useless when you are operating with the weaponry of the heart. And to the extent that you are in that space, all things are possible. To the extent that you are not in that space, nothing is possible. Okay. So what I said early on was that we are going to go another 15 minutes or so into our into the hour. For those of you who, for some reason, need to leave, um, bye. For those of you who can hang out another 10, 15 minutes or so, um, I've been getting some pretty deep comments, and it's interesting that those deep comments are not coming from people who are um, U.S. citizens. Um, and you will, for those of you who saw our prior live stream, where the conversation went into the crappy food that Americans are given, that Americans don't protest, that other countries would not allow their citizens to eat. Um, Ursula in Germany had a really long comment. Let me tell you this part. The This platform only allows comments that are 200 characters long. So when Eve or Ursula make a comment that's 2,000 characters long, I have to go in and I have to chop this up into bite-sized pieces. And so I'm going to, it looks like these are bite-sized pieces, but this is due to my chopping here. Okay, so first one is, you, meaning me, talked about the awful food in the US and how once good companies sell garbage for profit. Hoping to educate consumers to vote with their pocketbook has only been marginally successful. Um, Absolutely, yes. I don't think that that is a viable strategy. Um, the companies, if everybody rose up at the same time, the companies that own Congress would just pass other laws in their favor. Um, you can't get that kind of a groundswell that's going to move Congress in any particular direction. And we can look at the the whole issue around gun control and mass shootings and things like that is you're not going to get action from the folks who should be giving us action. So we have to do so instead of we don't give up, we just do something else that's going to actually be effective. Um, Ursula went on to say, in Europe, it's only worked because the food situation. It's only worked because they created laws that will not allow certain chemicals in food. I think that's the same thing that's happened in Mexico. And I think about the Mexican Coca-Cola that human beings can drink, as opposed to the American Coca-Cola that'll put people in that is one of the elements that puts people in the hospital. Ursula goes on to say, in Europe, most foods have ratings now from A to D so that you can see at a glance how healthy you're eating. I think that's a really great idea because I am not in favor of forcing people to eat one way or the other. If you want to eat crappy food, you should have crappy food available to you. You want to smoke cigarettes, you should have cigarettes available to you. And once you're eating crappy food and smoking cigarettes, you should be held accountable for what you've done to your body and not ask me to pay for it. And I could go on, but I'm actually going to stop in 10 minutes. I don't like, maybe I should put my own speech on 78 so I can talk faster. Okay. Ursula goes on to say, politicians in the US are not interested to change anything. So what is the answer? Get rid of the lot. Okay, I'm with you. um, and let's talk about how you get rid of the lot. This is something that the news just doesn't talk about. There are many countries. So, okay, like I have um, props here. Okay, this is my local ballot. This is I'll be opening this up, and I'll be voting for candidates in the local elections. Most of the time, I don't want to vote for any of them. None of them pass my muster. So I do what's called in the South American countries voto en blanco. That means I take my ballot, I sign it, I stick it in the envelope without voting for anyone, and it's a blank vote. For every office, I voted for no one, no one, no one, no one, no one. If in those countries none of the above comes out with 50% of the vote, you toss out the vote, you toss out the candidates, and you start over again. No more, oh, this one is the least smelly of the candidates, so he's now our leader, he or she. Um, and so um, what we need to do is not elect better people. It's like we need to put teeth into the electorate and say, you keep giving us crap, you're going to have to keep doing this over and over again until you stop giving us crap. And that's just one of 20 or 30 different solutions to the process. Okay, and the last thing that Ursula said, I want to spend a little bit of time on. And she said, this holonic consciousness will hit everyone at once. What event will it take for consciousness to change? Big question that deserves more than the next 5 minutes for my response. There are two levels of question of that question. One is um, are we talking about internal or external events? I can imagine lots and lots of external events um, that can lead to us having to rethink how we live our lives. Um, a coronal mass ejection shuts off the electricity for, let's see, forever. Okay, and how will we live our lives? We've painted ourselves into a corner. How will we live our lives without electricity? The Yellowstone supervolcano envelops the earth in ash for the next couple of years. How will we grow food, grow enough food? How will we distribute that food? Okay, we all know the rich are going to get it. Okay, so get more, they're going to be swimming in food. And there's an awful lot of people on the planet, like maybe a billion or two, that won't get any. So these are all external stuff. I think there are a lot of internals that will cause us to rethink how we do things. Most of them, unfortunately, are negative, and some of them have the potential to be a positive change. Let me just give you one example. And this is coming from my books, The Chronicles of the Upheavals, and its companion book, The Chronicles of the Awakening. What happens when a large group of people, a noticeable group of people, starts actually using holonic consciousness to change reality? Uh, give you a quick example. What a region of a country, let's say the United States Southwest, is going through a really super heavy duty drought. But there's one area where there is a holonic consciousness community that changes the weather pattern in that area so that they're getting adequate rain, they're getting adequate everything that you need to grow whatever you need to grow. And people are paying attention to that. And people want to know, what are you folks smoking that gets you to get the weather to cooperate? That's something that's positive that can get more people focused on how to live their lives differently. Now, the downside of that is that it's really easy for the powers that be to um, try to twist that into something weird, maybe even demonic. These people are praying to the devil, and that's why the devil's giving them devil water. Okay. Um, Unfortunately, that's probably not a joke. Um, so, how, how do you have this opening to holonic consciousness that's actually hitting everyone at once, um, that gets us to wake up and pay attention? There's a science fiction book, and I can't remember the name of it. And if I do, I'll tell you next time. Um, but everybody on the planet has exactly the same experience at the same time. They're not all looking at the same TV show. It's that, whether you're sleeping or awake, for 3 minutes, you see an aspect of the world. Okay. So everybody's saying exactly the same thing. And people recognize this as the spiritual event that it is. People recognize it as a spiritual event that crosses all religions. It has no, whether you're an Aboriginal in Australia, whether you're a stockbroker in New York, or anything in between, they all have exactly the same experience at exactly the same time. That would be a really cool trick, and that would be something that could open the doors to holonic consciousness and holonic institutions in ways that people like me aren't even predicting. Okay. How do you keep that going? How do you keep that moving forward? How do you keep people from saying, "Oh, you can have a better you can instead of having a 3-minute holonic consciousness experience, you can have 4 minutes if you do this meditation technique." And how do you keep it relevant and authentic? We'd have to figure that out. Okay, folks, I said that I was going to go another 15 minutes. We're right knocking at the door of 15 minutes. Thank you for the folks who have put in some really serious time thinking out our questions and our comments. I see that there are other comments that that are there. I will process them for the next segment, and we'll see how that transpires. I think, something I didn't say, and I'll spend more time saying this for the next broadcast. Things like, he dips down to pick up the Chronicles of the Upheavals and the sequel. It's not really a sequel, it's the second part. The Chronicles of the Awakening. They're available for you to buy. If you go to, and I'll see if I can put this in the quote in the box real quick. You go to commonway.org/shop. You'll get it. You can um, buy that book. You can buy Creating a World That Works for All. You can get whatever it is that you want to get, and we'll be able to talk on a more even keel. Um, I've got someone in Poland who said, she's gonna find the book, then find a way to translate it. Welcome, Google. Okay, it's been great talking with you, and great doing an extra 15 minutes. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy.